if you're going to buy property here on the Big Island, one thing is for sure, you're going to have to pay taxes. If you're wondering what those are going to be, we'll talk about that right up next. Hello friends, welcome to the Buy Big Island Property Tax Blog. Today we're going to talk about property taxes here on the Big Island, cover the different classes, how you calculate them, and just go over some general information about property taxes, because that's a question that's commonly asked when someone's going to buy property is, how much is property tax going to cost me a year? And the good news is that comparatively here on the Big Island and in Hawaii in general, property taxes are lower than in other places in the country, and that's primarily because we don't use property tax revenue to pay for our school system. That comes out of the state general fund. So property tax revenue is generally used to pay for roads, fire, police, refuse, those types of things that the county takes care of, and it doesn't pay for our school system. So in general, property taxes feel like they're lower here, but we tax a lot of other things in Hawaii which they make their money one way or the other. So some quick disclaimers. First, I'm not a tax professional and I don't play one on the internet. So if you need some specific advice about your specific situation, I recommend that you talk to a tax professional. Second, every county is different in Hawaii. So each of the major islands is a separate county, and each county has separate tax rates. They're somewhat similar, sometimes with some different classes. But today what we're talking about is specifically the taxes here on the Big Island, the county of Hawaii. So if you're buying in Maui or Oahu or Kauai, that may vary a little bit. So check into those tax rates specifically there. And then tax rates can change year to year with new legislation. These are the current tax rates that apply to 2018. If you're watching this sometime in the future, that may have changed. But again, tax rates can change. This is current for 2018. So what are the tax rates? There's basically 9 tax rates for the Big Island. And they're listed here: affordable rental housing, residential, apartment, commercial, industrial, agricultural, native forest, conservation, hotel, resort, and homeowner. It's a little bit confusing because it goes from 0 to 9, but there's no number 8. So there are actually only 9 classes of property taxes. And they break the property tax assessment into 2 parts, the land and then the building. But the rate for both are the same. So you basically add those 2 together and then apply the rate to the total assessed value, and then you can figure out what your property taxes are going to be for the year. And we actually pay them twice per year. So every 6 months there's a property tax payment due. So they're calculated per year, but you pay half and half every 6 months throughout the year. So the highest rate is the apartment rate at $11.70 per $1,000 of valuation. That's a little bit confusing trying to calculate that, but really just move the decimal point one time and then you can convert it into a percentage. So it's basically 1.11% of the assessed value. And then the cheapest are the affordable rental housing at $6.15 or 0.615%, and the homeowner rate, which is the same thing, $6.15, so 0.615% of the total assessed value. So when you're looking at this, you can basically figure out, you got to look on the tax records, figure out what the total land and building assessed value is, and then apply the tax rate to it, and that tells you what the tax rate is going to be. So it's hard to answer the question when people say, what are my tax rates going to be, especially if they're going to be a homeowner, because the homeowner rate is dramatically different from the residential rate. So the residential rate is $11.10, and the homeowner rate is $6.15, so almost half of the residential rate. So if you're using the home especially as a second home, the property tax rate is much higher. If you're an owner occupant and you use the home for 200 calendar days throughout the year, the rate is much lower. And there's also additional exemptions that if you are an owner occupant, you can apply to the county for the homeowner's exemption, which the standard exemption is $40,000, and then that goes up. If you're 60 years old, it goes up to $80,000, and then if you're over 70 years old, it goes up to $100,000. So you take that amount off of your assessed value, and then you calculate the tax rate based on that. So the rate can dramatically shift downward if you are an owner occupant and you're 60 or 70 years of age or older. So you have to really look at your specific situation to calculate out what your exact tax rate is going to be. And I did a couple of quick examples to show the difference. If you're a non-resident homeowner and you have a total assessed value of $500,000 at the tax rate of 1.11% and no exemption, you would pay $55.50 a year, so $5,550 per year in property taxes. But if you're an owner occupant and you have an exemption, you pay 0.62%. You take off $40,000 from the $500,000, and you pay $2,829 per year in property taxes. So almost half off your property tax bill if you are an owner occupant and you get the property tax exemption. So there's a lot to think about, a lot to look at in terms of your exact cost, and happy to help you look at that and look up the current property tax information, current assessed value. That assessed value lags behind market value most times, so we don't really use tax assessed value in determining what the market value is, because it's usually behind, and it'll reset when there's a sale. They'll use that as a new valuation. So sometimes that can change the tax rate also. If you're a new owner, when you buy, the tax rate may go up because they may reassess the value of the home because they may have not done it in many years. So keep that in mind also, that's a variable that is also out there. And then one thing that gets asked a lot, and especially with our current situation, is what's the deal with the LAVA and tax property taxes. And the county actually has some situations set up that if your property is covered by LAVA, they basically will give you a waiver and say that there's no longer value there, and you won't continue to have to pay property taxes on a property that was covered in LAVA. So unfortunately, there's some folks that are in that situation right now on the east side of the island. But very interesting that, very unique situation that the county has here, that they've already come up and figured that out because they know that was going to be an issue. So with that, lots to talk about in property taxes. It's a quick overview. If you have any questions about property taxes or how to get a homeowner's exemption, there's great information on the county website. If you just Google Hawaii County property taxes, Hawaii County property taxes, it comes up. And of course, we're always happy to help if you have any questions. So hit us up, send me an email, ask some comment in the questions below, and we can give you some updates there also. So hopefully this answers some of your questions about property taxes here on the Big Island. Again, thanks for watching. Aloha.